Hello everyone, welcome to Love Talk, time to communicate with Helene and James.
For those who have just tuned in, our show explores love and its many faces, and we are here to advise and support you along the way.
Communication is at the heart of any successful relationship, and it is still today the key to my 14 years of marriage with James.
Our show aims to share with you both the hard and the good times of our long-lasting relationship. So if you believe love is in the air, let's explore it together. Will love still be a mystery after this episode? Let's find out.
Today's topic is about being and falling in love.
Also, you won't want to miss an experiment we will try on 2 singles. According to some recent research published on the New York Times, it's possible to fall in love with someone by asking 36 specific questions. Could these 2 singles, who know virtually nothing about each other, be in love by the time they finish this questionnaire?
We're going to be joined by Malcolm. He was here some time ago as a singleton. Let's see how it is today.
But first, here's a little date Elena and I went on recently. We were both ice skating virgins, but we managed to survive. This is a great icebreaker, right? Pardon the pun, for a first date, or just to take your partner to do something quite fun. Have a look. This is a new trip for 2 for 2015, and we came ice skating. Both of us, our first time, you had your little penguin to help you?
Yes, I had, and it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Actually, it's a lot of fun. You guys convinced me to get inside the ring, so here I am, not doing any spins just as yet, but I had a lot of fun.
What really amazed me is how friendly people are, because we're both novices and they came to give us some hints, some pointers, and as you could see, I'm ready for the Winter Olympics. I should be in the Great Britain team very soon. But actually it was a lot of fun, right? Do you recommend this to couples?
Absolutely. It's literally an icebreaker. If you want to bring someone.
An icebreaker. Wow. Where did you get that from?
I think I heard you say that once. But what I mean is this: if you want to invite someone on a date, this is a great idea.
and just follow their advice. Don't get overexcited too quickly because you might just fall and break a bone or two. So just take it easy, and we hope you enjoy it like we did. Now here's the thing about that ice skating. I was a little bit apprehensive because a friend of mine recently broke his leg a few days before we recorded that. And I didn't want to break my leg, but we had a good time, right?
Yeah, I love my penguin. It was awesome. I mean, it was just, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And according to our trainer / helper, I should be ready for the Olympics in a few months, the Winter Olympics, right? Now we need to talk a little bit about the thing of falling in love, what that means, right? We have a few things we need to get out the window, a few myths.
Yes.
And the first one, which we actually tackled in a program some time ago, is the love at first sight, right? And this thing, love at first sight, we personally are not big fans. We don't really think this exists. Another myth about falling in love is, oh, it feels right. You know, he's a drug addict, but it feels right. He's a cheat, but it feels right. And that, you know, don't go by how it feels, because you're gonna get a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, he's married, but it feels right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we hear that a lot. And again, like, you know, like we mentioned quite a lot, this is an idea that has been encrypted, you know, into our minds by the movies and things. You know, it feels right. But it doesn't make sense. What does that mean anyway?
And sometimes it's so wrong, right?
Completely.
Another important thing to talk about with the falling in love kind of myths is this thing of falling in and out of love. A lot of people say, well, I fell in love with you, but now I'm no longer in love with you, so we fell out of love. But the thing is, if you fell in love with someone and then you stopped, or you were not in love with the person anymore because you guys stopped paying attention to the relationship, you can easily, if you start working at it, you can easily fall in love with the person again. Because you did that once, you can do it again, right?
Or maybe what happens is this. The person did not give it time, they just started dating immediately, or they moved in together too fast or married too fast without actually knowing the person. And then you realize the person is not really, you know, what I thought the person would be. And indeed, it makes sense. Oh, I don't love this person, but it doesn't mean that you don't love her anymore. It's just that you did not do your homework properly, which was to respect the period called dating.
Yeah.
And there is another one, which is, I love you, but I'm not really in love with you. Now, it doesn't really make sense. So to me, people who say that, who like to say that, I don't think they understand what it means to love, because you either love or you don't love.
Absolutely. For example, if I love you, then I am in love with you.
It shows that the person is still confused. It's like, okay, do I love, do I not love? It's like this, when you love, you know you love the person. There's no way you can say, I love you, but I don't love you anymore, or I thought I love you. It doesn't make sense. So when you love someone, you know for sure.
The truth is that this is a cop-out. This is for people who want an easy way out of a relationship. So they say, look, I love you, but I'm not really in love with you. And that's a problem. Now, we want to show you an experiment we did with two single people. We put them together in a room and we asked them 36 questions in the hope that this test that they spoke about in the New York Times, that anybody could fall in love if they answered these two questions, in the hope that they would fall in love. After the break, you'll see how that experiment went.
We have recently read on the New York Times an article written by Mandy Len-Catron, who tried an experiment which was first created and tested more than 20 years ago by Arthur Aron, the first psychologist who succeeded in making two strangers fall in love in his lab. How did he make this happen?
Arthur Aron created a set of 36 questions, each set broken up into 3 parts, each of them intended to be more probing than the previous one. He then let the strangers look at each other's eyes for 4 minutes in silence. The idea behind this research is that mutual vulnerability fosters closeness. So today these 36 questions will be answered by Bianca and Gabriel, who never met each other before.
So let's see closely some moments between Bianca and Gabriel during our experiment in our love lab.
Before making a telephone call, do you ever rehearse what you are going to say?
Nah, because I'm confident that, when I open my mouth, what I mean to say will come out.
Would you like to be famous? In what way?
Okay, I'd like to be famous, not in a way that paparazzi are chasing me, but in a way that, like, when I die, I have a legacy, like, I've made a difference in, like, the world that I live in. Like, I wasn't just someone who just came and just passed away. Like, I want my name to stand for something, or I did something that helped people around me. If you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the mind or the body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want?
I'd say the mind. I'd say the mind of a 30-year-old, because if you have the mind of a 30-year-old, you still would want to look after your image and yourself, so I reckon I'd be able to get both.
Do you have a secret hunch about how you will die?
No, I don't, but I'd just hate to die in an embarrassing way. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be?
I'd say perhaps to have both parents bringing me up for the majority of my childhood.
Is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time? And if so, why haven't you done it?
I've dreamed of traveling the world. Like just going to different places like China, Egypt. What is your most terrible memory?
I think the most terrible memory was actually getting hit by a car. Yeah, I was actually doing some shopping and then some 7-seater just came and just swiped me out of nowhere.
If you knew that in 1 year you would die suddenly, would you change anything about the way you are living now? And if so, why?
Yes, I'll take more risks. I feel like I'm a person that likes to feel comfortable and I don't take as much risk as I should take. And like sometimes that can like limit yourself, that can limit you. I think I play a bit too safe sometimes. Sometimes I think that as long as I don't lose anything, it's okay, but sometimes I should just do more.
Well, this experiment is a start.
How do you feel about your relationship with your mother?
Yeah, I think it's a really good relationship. It's a really good relationship. Now growing up as being an adult, you appreciate the decisions they've made for you in the past that would have made you feel like, oh, you're invading my privacy and such. So I see our relationship's really good because I appreciate her now.
How close and warm is your family? Do you feel your childhood was happier than most other people's?
My family is quite close now. I'd say that we get on quite well now. But I'd say my childhood was quite a lonely childhood. I was only child for like 10 years because I was always like going from different childminders all the time. So it was always like I was never really settled. So I always just kept to myself. Make 3 true we statements each. For instance, we're both in this room feeling.
We're both in this room feeling quite calm and at ease. I mean, we're about 20 questions in now, so yeah. And I'd say we're also both feeling hot because of this bright light that's shining directly in our faces. We're both in this room feeling like we're not exactly strangers anymore because, yeah, you know quite a bit about me now.
Share with your partner an embarrassing moment in your life.
When I heard this question before, I was actually going to say that I ripped my trousers as well, because I always do that. I'm always ripping my trousers and I always fall down the stairs. I'm quite clumsy. When did you last cry in front of another person or by yourself?
The last time I cried in front of another person was last year in April, when one of my good friends passed away.
Of all the people in your family, whose death would you most find disturbing and why?
Between my younger brother and my mum, I'd find most disturbing. If my little brother passed away, then that would be like, I'd feel upset because like I feel like he lost out, like he died too young. But at the same time, it would be kind of like, if he did die young, it would be like, or at least he didn't have to go through like a lot of heartache or anything like that. At least like he had like quite a sheltered life and things were good for him. If you were to die this evening with no opportunity to communicate with anyone, what would you most regret not having told someone? Why haven't you told them yet?
I don't think I've got anything that I've, kind of held back that I would have liked to say. Yeah, I'm quite vocal. If I have something to say, I often say it.
So the idea of this psychologist was to make these two people who didn't know each other fall in love after those 36 questions. How do you think that's going?
I don't think it's going to happen. I could not see any
Spark.
nothing, but I like the questions. I think we should take note of those questions and ask each couple homework. You need to know all these things about your partner. I think that would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Now, we're going to show you the final part, which is the part that they had to stare into each other's eyes for 4 minutes.
Oh
Let's
my
see what
God.
happened. What we're going to do is that in 6 months, we're going to check on them to see if they are really in love. And we just have to say that when they did this test and they found that the couple who had never met after they asked the 36 questions, they fell in love. The truth is that this falling in love is that they really liked each other because they found out some interesting things. But true love doesn't come after you ask 36 questions. Well, we're going to check on that couple in 6 months. But before we go for the break, here's today's love quiz.
Hello and welcome to today's Love Quiz. With me today, Malcolm and Days, and we are about to find out how well they know each other. The rules are very simple. I will ask you each 5 questions and you have 10 seconds to answer each one correctly. Today we will begin with Malcolm. Malcolm, are you ready for this?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah? Let's go.
All right.
Okay, let's see who is going to win this one today. Question number 1, 10 seconds on the clock. What is her favorite film, Malcolm?
This is easy. Taken.
Correct, well done. Question number 2, what is her favorite lipstick color? Come on. 10 seconds.
Pink.
Very well, very well. Okay. Question number 3, what is her favorite food?
It's Portuguese.
10 seconds.
Bacalhau.
Correct. Oh my God. I should have challenged you a bit more here. Anyway, question number 4. What is a shoe size?
4.
I really thought you'd get this one wrong, but it's correct. And lastly, question number 5. What is a favorite place to visit?
Easy. Cuba.
Oh my God. Okay, well, you've got them all right. I don't even know what to say. Okay.
I know
This is a first on Love Talk, but anyway, let's go now to Days. Days, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Question number 1, 10 seconds on the clock. What is his favorite film?
Taken too.
Yeah, correct. Question number 2, what's his favorite color?
Blue.
Correct. Question number 3, what is his favorite food?
Rice and chicken.
Yeah. Guys, are you already married or something? Have you been married like for 50 years or something? Anyway, I've got 2 more questions for you, Days. Question number 4, let me see if you get this one right. What does he dislike the most? 10 seconds.
As in.
Tell me something that he doesn't like, in general.
I know he values time, lateness.
That's exactly what he said. Well done. And lastly, Where did you go for your first date?
It was
10
it
seconds?
was Haagen-Dazs.
That's correct. Okay, guys, okay, listen. I don't know what to say here, but I've never seen this before on Love Talk. Both of you had answered all the questions correctly. Well done to you both.
Yeah.
Welcome back. So before I tell you something interesting about today's couple, let's just see first of all the things that annoy them about each other.
One of them would be when he speaks loud. That really, really does annoy me. We can be on the road, walking, even at home. The volume of his voice just somehow, it just gets louder and louder and louder. That really is annoying.
One is when we're talking and she just drifts off and starts thinking about something else. And I'm like, are you listening to me? And then she'll say, oh, yeah. And I know she's not listening. It's so annoying.
He has his nerdy side, and that really, he can be really goofy. Like the other day, we went to watch a movie and he kind of knew what it was about, and he was like repeating the words that were being said in the movie. That's annoying.
Oh, when she treats me like a child, as in, she's trying to maybe help me change with a habit or so, but then it's like, she does the things that my mum does, like, oh, I have this problem with eating with my knife and fork with the wrong hand, and then she's like, no, it's this way and that way, and I'm like, okay, all right, it's just the knife and fork.
When he finishes off the sentences I'm speaking, so I'll say something, I haven't even finished speaking, and he says my last word. That's really annoying.
She speaks Portuguese and I'm learning Portuguese, is when we're around people who maybe speak Portuguese as well, and then they start speaking Portuguese and I'm like, I speak English and I only understand a little bit of Portuguese, so that's pretty annoying because I feel left out, but it's not really that annoying, but yeah, that's all I can think of.
Right, so here's an interesting fact about today's couple. So we have here Malcolm and Daisy. Welcome to the program, guys.
Hi,
Hello.
welcome back, Malcolm.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. Welcome back. Because you've been on this show before when you were single.
That's right.
Very single, actually.
And I remember that time you were happy being single and you were ready to start a relationship. Now you're here with Daisy. How are you, Daisy?
Oh, thank you.
Now you guys are about to get married in a few months.
That's right.
So this whole thing happened in about what, a year?
Yeah, a year and a month now.
Right, yeah. So let's find out, first of all, a little bit about how things were when you guys were single. I mean, what's your history like in being single? Let's start with your mom.
Well, before I was quite a womanizer. You know, I used to have loads of girlfriends, sleeping around, and I wasn't really too keen on marriage at the time. It was always something that was in the back of my mind, but something that I wasn't really, prepared for. So I just kind of lived the whole bachelor life, if I can say that, at the time, thinking that it was fun to just be with as many girls as I could, basically.
But it has to be said that probably that wasn't in your mind because you were quite young then,
yeah.
Right? So of course, I would have hoped at that time it wouldn't be in your mind. But your standards in terms of relationships is what?
I didn't really have any high standards, basically. It was like anyone who showed interest in me was like, okay, that's good enough for me. I didn't really care about the qualities of a person, the person's character, or, their future plans. If we had, similarities, it was just, oh, this person likes me, okay, why not give it a go? That's how I was before, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So you would add that list to your list of achievements, like who you slept with or who you...
It was like every person that I went out with was a trophy person kind of thing. Yeah, so I was with this person.
So were you happy?
No.
Tell me the truth.
No. Honestly speaking, when you...
Can you say that a bit out loud so that people at home can
it's true.
hear that?
Many people, and for me, I speak for myself, is being in that situation, you can't be happy. I can't bring someone home to my mum and say, this is my girlfriend, because maybe next week or a month later it's going to be somebody else. So you're never really happy because there's no future there. It's just like a here and now tomorrow worries about tomorrow.
What about you, Days? What's your story when you were single?
Well, I was in a relationship and still at a young age, and I got heartbroken. And because of that, I just forgot about love life. I literally pushed it aside. But even when I got into that relationship, I had no plans for the future, like Malcolm mentioned, because I came from a home where my parents were divorced from when I was little. And then I got into the relationship, I already knew that there was no future. I knew I wasn't going to take him home. He was definitely not going to meet my family because I knew he wasn't the right person.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more of something like wanting to feel loved. That's why, I got into that relationship, and then I ended up being heartbroken.
So, I mean, today's topic is about, the truth about falling in love. Mm-hmm. Now, the interesting thing about you guys is that you sort of knew each other, or you knew of each other for quite a long time, right? It's not like you saw each other and there was fireworks, like some people say. It was
love
different.
At first sight.
Love at first sight. How was it for you guys?
It's quite funny actually, because she found me quite annoying.
Really?
Because we work in the same place, and so for about a year I'd seen her, but I didn't really take any notice of her. The only thing I knew was she's really stuck up. She doesn't want to say hello, so she's gonna say hello to me.
She's very shy, she was telling me.
So she found you annoying, you found her stuck up.
Yeah.
That was not a good start.
Interesting.
And that's why it's quite funny, because we didn't have any interest in each other at all. It was just, okay, we work together, we've seen each other because we attend a youth group, so we've seen each other in a few of the activities that have gone on in the youth group, but that was it, so working together and then knowing each other for a year, it was like, oh.
So what changed, Days? What happened?
In the youth group, like Malcolm said, everyone knows who he is because he's quite active in it. And to me, it seemed like he was just a show-off. So that was just even before I even got to work with him, in my mind, he's a show-off.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Malcolm can dance, right?
Yeah.
He can dance. He can dance. You've seen him.
Yeah, don't say that too much, otherwise he gets too
That's why she thought he was.
Like
that's why she thought he was a bit show off, isn't it?
Yeah. But then at work, he was a show off to me, and then he became annoying. So that was two things that was actually against him. But as time went by, I noticed how he was with everyone else, talking to people, how friendly he was. And I'm quite quiet. And I saw that and I was like, wow, that's different. That's nice. So that's when I was like, okay, maybe he's not so much of a show off. Maybe he's not so stuck up. Yeah.
And you, Malcolm, what changed in the way that you saw her?
I realized that she wasn't stuck up. It was just that she had a lot of value for herself. And that was probably the biggest thing that interested me, in her. Like, my biggest interest in her was that she valued herself. She was the kind of person who, it wasn't like, I'm gonna talk to everybody and, anyone. Especially like the previous girls that I had met before. I had met girls before, but then meeting Daisy was like, I've met a woman, who really, the way how she took care of herself, the way how she did things, I was like, okay, now I understand why she's quite reserved, because it's like, I'm not gonna allow anyone to just come in like that. Okay. So that was something that was like, okay.
So that attracts.
And the interesting thing, Elena, is that, you guys are polar opposites, right? Because, for example, Malcolm is very extrovert and talks to everybody, and the guy, you got an award at work. What was the award?
Wise guy.
The wise guy.
What does that mean?
It's the guy who's always joking, always playing. And you, Days, I was even making a joke with our producer that I've known Days for a few years, and today was probably the second time I've heard her speak.
All right.
That's how reserved. So you guys were watching the show, you're having a privilege, because you're hearing her speak in this show more than I've ever heard her speak in all the years I've known her. All right? So in a way, it's like the opposites attracted, right? Do you think that's a good thing for both of you? Has that worked for both of you?
Yeah, I think it helps because we're taking a lot from each other, and we learn a lot from each other. Because if it was the same, it would be a bit...
But now, let me ask you a question. Malcolm, didn't you feel a bit intimidated to approach her because she came across in that way, and then you were like, okay, she's quite nice. Let me see, what she's about, and how was it?
She was quite intimidating because it was like, even to get a smile from her was hard. It was hard. So, and even the process of us talking and getting to the stage of, okay, I like you was quite some time, because it's like, okay, how would I tell her that I like her without her saying no? No way,
So tell me, how did that happen? How did you approach her?
Well, I was quite smart about it.
Some men at home are watching and I'm like, guy, man, give us some tips, because
I think the best thing is communicating, because that's how we started. I started to, just say a few
being
things
friends
like,
and stuff?
yeah, being friends, and I had a feeling she probably thought I was a show off. So I said, okay, that's obvious.
And that
that's
feeling
not
was
gonna work.
right.
Yeah. So that's not gonna go well. I can't go there.
I'm a good dancer.
It wouldn't work that way. So it started off actually on Facebook. I just started making a few conversations like, okay, hi, how was your day today? Seeing as we worked together, so that helps. That was a bonus. But just, getting to know her a little bit better. So, how was your day today? What do you like to do? Just finding out a little bit more about her, because then I would know, okay, I'm not gonna go there and speak about dance because maybe she's not interested in that, but find out what she's actually interested in, and then get to know a little bit more about that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she obviously said yes because you're here now. And,
So what we want to find out after the break is, you knew each other for a year, and then a year later you started, talking and then dating. We want to find out what was the point where this falling in love started to happen. Okay, because you did not have the conventional falling in love period. So we want to find out how that happened right after the break. So don't go anywhere. You'll hear how this young couple fell in love. What was it? What was the chemistry? You'll find out. Welcome back. So what we know about our couple today is that they knew each other for a year, and they didn't really like each other that much because she thought he was quite flamboyant, if that's the word. He thought she was stuck up, but they later found out they had some things in common, although they're quite different. What we want to find out now, guys, is, once you started dating, where was it that you felt you were falling in love, or you were falling for each other? How long after you started to talk and date did that happen, and how did it happen?
Well, when we started talking, we just started talking as that's my colleague at work. But when I started realizing that we speak more often, and I was like, that's weird. And then we speak more and more and more, and then I actually found out that we had some similarities, and that, hold on a minute, that's interesting. And then just as time went by, we just got to know each other more and more, and that's how it all started.
But was there anything that he said or that he did, apart from the talking, that made you, that caught your eyes? I was like, you know what? I think this might be the one. This guy might be the one after all. What did you see in him?
I saw qualities in him, like that I don't have, like the way he speaks, the way he can interact with people. He can really pass on a lot of his thinking. That really caught my attention. It really shined to me. I was like, that's nice. I would like to be like that.
Okay.
And yeah.
And you, Malcolm, you started dating, but of course when you start dating, there's a period where you like the person, I like the person, but then like is one thing, love is something else. So
exactly.
when did you feel that you were falling in love with her?
It was after about 7 months of us dating.
7 months of dating? So for those 7 months, what did you feel?
It was like, I like, but I don't want to rush anything.
He was spying the land, like they say.
Yeah.
Like, let me see.
Exactly that, because I had a past of being in relationships, and it didn't really end well, or there was no future. So it was like I had to be able to see that, okay, this can be something that's solid enough. So after about 6-7 months, and we was even talking about, okay, so, you know, how could I say, you know, the few mentions of weddings and marriage, it was just the few topics about it. And I was like, you know what, I've realized that the things that I don't have about myself, she has.
Which is the same thing she said.
Exactly. And it was like, if that's something that we have different from each other, it can be something that will complement each other. So it will make me a better person, and I'll be able to make her a better person.
It's like, you know, Elena, we usually say that love is like mashed potatoes, right? You put two potatoes that are completely separate, different, and then you boil them, and as they start mixing and they become one, that's love, right? It's like you were saying, you started to see that you had so much in common, you wanted the same things, and you started to gel into one. Even though you guys are very young and your relationship is quite young, but you know what you want, you are now taking a step in getting married, right?
Exactly. And honestly speaking, being young, many people have seen that could be an obstacle. But I believe if you know what you want and both of you are willing to make sacrifices to make the relationship work, you know, I'm not saying that age doesn't matter, because you can't be 16 and get married, but
I mean, you can,
well,
legally.
Yeah, yeah, of course, legally,
I didn't even
but
know that.
not even I would advise that, because
Yeah, of course.
you've still got your studies and all of that. But being financially independent and having a sound mind, I think as long as you have that and you're able to work with each other.
And for example, I'm sure that, you know, while dating, and you're still dating until you get married, I'm sure that you've seen things that you don't really like, you know. So I'm pointing this one out because many couples, they start dating and then they see, like my husband likes to call it, some quirkiness.
Quirkiness. Quirkiness is...
You know what I mean. And then, which means, oh, I don't really like this about her. But how did you deal with those things? Because I'm sure she's not perfect, like you're not perfect, right? There's no such a thing as perfection. So how did you just, you know what? Of course, obviously, you did not give up. You carried on dating. But how did you deal with that? Because people nowadays, oh, I don't like the way she does her hair or does her makeup or whatever.
The way she eats.
Yeah, the way she eats. You know, very trivial things. How did you deal with these things? Because I know they are part of relationships.
I think I'll let you speak about this one.
It was a matter of, first of all, just mentioning it. Not yelling it, but like just mentioning it.
Okay.
And then just try and help. So you mention it and then you give like the person an option of what else to do, kind of thing. And then just leave it as that and see how it's gonna go. And Malcolm, thank God, he really like takes on board what is said to him. He's not usually stubborn, so that helps a lot. So just mention
I can be.
Yeah, you can be.
I admit that. I can be, I admit.
Yeah.
But you know, there will be things you can never change about him, and vice versa, right?
Yes.
I hope you're preparing yourself for that.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think it's all part of falling in love, isn't it? You're getting to know the other person's quirkiness and habits and funny things about the person, and you still, you know what, this is it. I mean, I just love this person to bits.
But it's like you said, it's important that, you know, you guys understand. This is a bit of advice we didn't plan in the show. Since you guys are getting married, let me give you a bit of advice. There are some things you guys are not going to be able to change about each other. And, you know, for you to make the relationship work, trust me, just embrace those things.
Just, and have fun with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know?
I think that's something that even whilst we're dating, we're learning as well, that there are some things that you have to just get used to and enjoy that about the person, because that's what makes the person different from you.
And unique, isn't it?
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
how you fall in love more and more. It's like, oh, this is Malcolm, this is Days, you know?
And the thing is, when you get married, those things are amplified, magnified, right? So get ready.
All right.
Not
Because
putting you off, but
it's like, now you don't have to, you know, behave as much as, you know, yeah, she already knows me, isn't it? Like us.
So guys, we want to thank you for being on the show. Thank you. It's your second time, your first time, and it's a privilege to hear you speaking more than I've ever heard you speaking before.
Maybe we should have them back on when, you know, a few
After
years
they get
after
married.
they get married and see what's going on, you know. See.
Or we'll do a Skype conference call when you guys are on honeymoon. I'm sure you won't want
Sorry
that.
to interrupt, we just would like to know how things are getting, you know, how you're getting on with things.
Exactly. So guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
And if there's one thing we've learned in this show, and this is what we wanted to put across, is that, you know, it's falling in love may not be exactly what a lot of people think it is. You know, a lot of people think you see this person across the room in a restaurant or in a place, and then there's electricity. And to be honest, for most of us, it doesn't work like that. Perhaps for 99.99% of us, it doesn't really work like that, right?
No.
And that's okay.
It doesn't work like that. It's just, you know, this is what movies, we always like to give this example, and it's true, this is what movies, you know, portray. You need to look at the person, and then she drops her books, and then you go and pick them up, and then you look at each other's eyes, and that's it. It's not like that. It's not like that.
Yeah, and the truth is that falling in love with a person is like falling in love with something that you may be very passionate about, but that you didn't particularly like when you started. And the truth is, we learn to love certain things. Perhaps some of the things you love today are some things you used to hate before, right? And that's what falling in love is. You fall in love with the different bits of that person, the different interests that they have, the different little things they have, and that's what creates that falling in love experience. Okay, we hope that today's program has been helpful. Until next time, have a wonderful evening.